The empty house. 5 years. That's how long I loved her. That's how long I believed we were building a life together. My name is Daniel Hayes, and I thought my girlfriend Emily was my forever. We met in our 20s, built dreams over late-night talks, cheap takeout, and promises of a future we would conquer side by side. For 5 years I gave her everything, my loyalty, my patience, my heart. But love, I learned, isn't always enough. It happened on a Tuesday evening. I came home early from work, arms full of groceries, ready to surprise Emily with her favorite dinner. The house was quiet when I walked in, too quiet. I set the bags on the counter and called her name. No answer. I moved toward the bedroom, heart pounding for reasons I couldn't explain. The door was slightly open. I pushed it wider. And there they were. Emily in our bed. With someone else. The world didn't just crash, it burned. My vision blurred, the sound of my own heartbeat thundered in my ears. 5 years. 5 years of believing in her, of planning a future, gone in an instant. She gasped when she saw me, scrambled for words. Daniel, this isn't. But there are no excuses for betrayal. Not this kind. I didn't scream. I didn't fight. I just turned and walked out, leaving the groceries, leaving her, leaving the life I thought we had. That night, the house felt emptier than ever before. Not because she was gone, but because the truth had settled in. She had been gone long before I caught her. And as I sat in the dark, one thought anchored itself in my mind. If she could destroy me this easily, then I would rebuild myself even stronger. This wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning. The days after betrayal moved differently. Hours feel like years, nights stretch into endless tunnels of silence. I thought the hardest part would be leaving Emily behind. But I was wrong. The hardest part was learning how to breathe without her shadow over me. I threw myself into work. My construction job wasn't glamorous, but it gave me focus. Brick by brick, foundation by foundation, I built homes for strangers while my own had fallen apart. But the strange thing about work is that it doesn't erase the ache. At lunch breaks, I'd find myself staring at my phone, half expecting her message, even though I knew it would never come. At night, I'd dream about the way she used to laugh, the way she used to fall asleep on my chest. 5 years isn't something you just erase. And yet, little by little, something shifted. I started taking on more projects. Small contracts at first, then bigger ones. My boss noticed. People noticed. Suddenly, I wasn't just a worker. I was the guy clients asked for by name. I wasn't rich, not yet, but I was building something real. Something mine. And with every paycheck, with every handshake, I felt stronger. Meanwhile, I heard things about Emily. She had moved in with him, the guy from my bed. His name was Ryan, a man who had swagger but no direction. At first, it seemed like passion carried them. But soon, the cracks began to show. Ryan was charming in the bedroom, but outside of it, he was careless. Bills piled up. Promises broke. Nights out ended in fights. Friends told me Emily looked different. Not glowing, not happy, just tired. And a part of me wanted to laugh. Another part wanted to scream. But most of me just wanted to forget. Still, forgetting isn't easy. Every milestone I reached, every foundation I laid, there was a ghost of her beside me. I told myself she didn't matter anymore. I told myself I was better without her. But late at night, when the world was quiet, I still wondered, did she ever think of me? Did she ever regret it? One thing was certain, whether she did or not, I was moving forward. And for the first time in months, I believed it. They say time heals everything. It doesn't. Time doesn't fix you. It just gives you the distance to see yourself clearly. It had been over a year since I walked out of my house with the groceries still sweating on the counter, and the image of Emily in our bed carved into my skull. In that year I learned how to build a life from rubble. I took extra shifts, then hired extra hands. I moved from pouring foundations for other men's dreams to signing papers for my own. One small flip turned into two turned into a modest multi-unit, and with each closing I felt the ground under me harden. People started using words like entrepreneur and developer when they said my name. My mother just said, "You look better." And that was the only title I really wanted. On a late Friday evening, as the city simmered under a heavy summer dusk, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. "Hello?" A silence, thin and trembling. Then, "Daniel, it's me." Emily. Her voice knocked the air out of me, familiar and far away at once. I stood at my window, looking down on the streetlights, thinking of 5 years that didn't belong to me anymore. What do you want? I asked. She exhaled a breath that sounded like a year of bad sleep. I know I'm the last person who should call you. But I didn't know who else to call. Ryan left. He left me with debts and a lease I can't afford, and I don't know what to do. You were always the one who cared. I need your help. The words slid over old scars. There was a version of me, thin, hopeful, bleeding, that would have sprinted across the city for her. That man kept a spare toothbrush for heartbreak. That man took responsibility for people who didn't take responsibility for themselves. I looked for him, inside me. He wasn't there. You're calling me now, I said, each word careful. After everything you chose? Daniel, I made a mistake, she whispered. He made me feel alive. But he wasn't real. Not when it mattered. I'm sorry. I don't know where to go. I could hear traffic hissing through the line. I could hear my pulse slow down instead of race. Peace is not the absence of noise, it's when the noise stops controlling you. Emily, I said, when you betrayed me, you didn't just cheat. You cracked the person I was. I had to build a new one. I did the work. I learned how to live without you. I won't unlearn it because your life is inconvenient. Her breath hitched. So that's it? You won't help me at all? I stared at my reflection in the glass, a man I had not recognized a year ago. I won't be your emergency exit, I said. Not anymore. Silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Then, I'm sorry, softer than a secret. Goodbye, Emily. I ended the call. I didn't sleep much. Not because I was shattered, because I was steady, and steadiness felt new. For the first time since the empty house night, I didn't replay scenes in my head like a prosecutor. I stood on the balcony and watched a dog walker tug 3 stubborn beagles through the heat and thought, life is mostly small, stubborn things. You just choose which ones to tug. Saturday morning, I went to the site of our newest project, an old brick warehouse we were converting into 12 honest apartments with light in the right places and closets that didn't lie. The crews were off for the weekend. The big rooms carried the cool hush of unfinished things. I walked the hallways chalked with measurements, touched the rough edges of new framing, checked the windows for the way they caught the sun. I didn't think about Emily until I realized I hadn't thought about Emily, and then the realization felt like a quiet victory. I called Mark. Mark had known me before and after, the kind of friend who shows up before you know you need him. She called, I said. He whistled low. And? I said no. A beat of disbelief, then a smile I could hear. That's my guy. It didn't feel cruel, I said. It felt necessary. Cruelty is when you hurt someone to make yourself feel better, Mark said. Boundaries are when you stop letting someone hurt you. Learn the difference, keep your peace. Working on it, I said. Proud of you, man, he said. Come over Sunday. Mom's making too much food again. On Monday, life snapped back to its track, emails, site meetings, a bank officer who wanted a tour and left nodding. I didn't expect to hear from Emily again. But habits don't die because you declare them dead. She texted 2 days later. Emily, can we meet? 15 minutes. Public place. I put the phone down, picked it up, put it down again. I didn't owe her a meeting. But closure isn't for both people, it's for the person who's ready. Maybe I was. Me, 10 minutes. Baxter's. Noon. Baxter's was a quiet little cafe with big windows and no patience for drama. I arrived early and took the corner table. She came in on time, thinner than I remembered, the brightness dimmed. She stopped 3 feet from the table like there was a tripwire on the floor. Hi, she said. Hi. She sat. Her hands were knotted together. I know I don't deserve your time. That's true, I said, and let the honesty sit between us like a third cup. I'm not here to make excuses, she said. I was selfish. I wanted excitement. I thought I could trade steady for spark and not get burned. I did. I burned everything. I waited. She swallowed. I owe 3 months on a lease. He put bills in my name. The landlord's threatening court. I can't go to my parents. Pride is a disease, and I have no one else. I'm not asking for you to take me back. I'm asking for guidance. 4. I don't know. A map. Once I would have heard a plea for rescue and run for my cape. Now I heard exactly what she asked for: guidance, not money. A map, not a ride. I pulled my notebook from my jacket and wrote 3 lines. Legal aid, I said, sliding the paper over. They'll look at the lease and the debt. Don't sign anything new. Don't promise anything over the phone. Another line. A women's financial counseling nonprofit, free, discreet. They'll help you build a budget that isn't a fantasy. A 3rd line. If you need a place for a week while you sort it out, there's a short-term sublet manager I trust. Month to month, no scams. She stared at the paper like it was in a language she didn't speak. You won't. I won't give you money, I said gently. And I won't call your landlord. I won't talk to Ryan. I won't fix this for you. But I will not leave you without tools. The tears came then, not loud, not performative. Quiet, embarrassed tears for the kind of mess that has your fingerprints on it. She wiped them fast. I don't deserve your kindness, she said. It's not kindness, I answered. It's clarity. She flinched like I'd hit her with truth. For a while we sat in the comfortable clatter of cups and milk steamers. She looked up at me, and for a heartbeat I saw the girl I'd loved, the way her smile used to start in her eyes, the way she leaned into me on sidewalks, the way she called my name when the world felt big and we felt bigger. That girl had 5 years to choose me. She didn't. Daniel, she said quietly, do you ever think about us? Every day, I said. But not like you think. I don't think about what we could be. I think about who I became because of what we were. I like him. She nodded, like acceptance was a wall she finally leaned against. I'm sorry, she said again. I know, I said. So am I. She stood. Thank you for the map, she said, holding the paper like a passport. I won't call you again. I believed her. She walked out into the white noon, and I let the door's bell ring itself back to quiet. Life didn't reward me with fireworks for that conversation. It gave me something better, ordinary days that didn't ache. I met with an architect who listened more than he talked. I signed off on kitchen finishes that wouldn't go out of style in a month. I said no to a deal that looked shiny and smelled rotten. I started sleeping through the night. On a warm Thursday, we held a small ribbon cutting for the first building that had my company's name on the plaque. It wasn't a skyscraper. It didn't need to be. 12 families would live here. 12 sets of keys would jingle into pockets. 12 doorways would gather muddy boots and school backpacks and late-night whispers. My mother fussed with a boutonniere on my lapel. Mark clapped me on the back hard enough to jolt the past out of my bones. A councilwoman said a few words about local investment. I said a few words about home. Not the Instagram version, real home, which is patience and repair and choosing the same people on hard days. I didn't say Emily's name. I didn't have to. The story was in the air, and the ending was here. The crowd thinned. I signed a copy of the lease packet like some small-town celebrity, and cringed at myself. Then I saw her. Across the street. In the shade of a maple. Emily. Not approaching. Watching. We looked at each other for a long second that didn't ask for anything. She lifted the piece of paper I'd given her, creased now, softened by pockets and decisions. She lifted it like a tiny white flag, then tucked it back away. She nodded once, gratitude or goodbye, I couldn't tell, and turned down the block smaller with each step until the corner kept her. Mark came up beside me. You okay? I am, I said, and realized I didn't have to convince myself. We locked the front door after the last handshake. The hallway smelled faintly of fresh paint and something like oranges. I took the new master key from my pocket and felt the weight of it. A year ago, I would have heard that key say you did it despite her. Today it said something better, you did it because of you. Later that night, I drove back to the house I rent, the one with the stubborn window in the bedroom and the dent in the hallway you only notice when the light hits right. I opened the fridge, found nothing worth eating, and laughed. I ordered takeout from the place where the owner knows my name and always tosses an extra garlic knot into the bag. By mistake. While I waited, I opened the closet and pulled down the last box I hadn't dared open since the night everything broke. Inside were small histories, a photo strip from a fair where we made silly faces, a mug from a weekend trip we couldn't afford, A letter I wrote and never gave her, too earnest to survive daylight. I placed the letter back, closed the box, and carried it to the door. Some things belong to the past because they teach you, not because they deserve to live in your present. The delivery guy knocked. "Daniel?" he said, peering over the bag. "Congrats, man. Saw you on the local feed, the new building. Looks good." "Thanks," I said, accepting the food like a trophy from the ordinary. I ate on the floor, back against the couch, city noise floating up like a lullaby. The phone buzzed once. Mark, a photo of my mother cutting the ribbon like she was christening a ship, captioned, "Mrs. Hayes launches the S.S. New Life." I laughed until I had to wipe my eyes. On my balcony, the summer air cooled at last. The city hummed like a big friendly machine. Below, a couple argued in low voices and then laughed, and then carried on. Proof that most things are survivable if you keep walking. I thought about crossroads. How movies make them look like one moment, one dramatic choice. In real life, a crossroads is 100 small decisions that lean you toward yourself, answering the unknown number, choosing honesty in a cafe, writing down resources instead of writing a check, not chasing a ghost across the street. I finished the last bite of garlic knot. I didn't make a wish. I didn't need one. The house wasn't empty anymore. It was mine.